Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC Bank weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with 31 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. It's a big weekend for everyone. First of all, starting with prep. It's our first NBC Bank Prep Showcase, continuing Friday night with our live telecast for the year. And that's Holy Cross and Jesuit, Friday night, 7 p.m. from Tad Gormley Stadium, renewal of the oldest rivalry in the United States, Lenny. This is a big deal.
It really is. And, one of the analogies I saw earlier this week was to Army-Navy. And I mean, I don't know if it's steeped quite that much in tradition, but as tradition goes in the state of Louisiana, when you're talking about high school sports, I think it starts with Holy Cross and Jesuit, or Jesuit and Holy Cross, depending on which side you're on, or the railroad track, so to speak. But it's big, and I mean, these guys get together. They plan this thing out for months in advance, coming together as one group to plan it out. They tailgate together before the game. They parade together. It's got all the pageantry of a lot of things you would see at much higher levels, but on the high school level, and it's fantastic to be a part of it. And we're looking forward to being there Friday night.
Live Friday night, WHNO Channel 20 at 7 p.m. and at SportsNola.com. Don't miss it. And, of course, our Prep Scoreboard at SportsNola.com, second to none. Follow along on Friday night with all the games from throughout the state with Jude Young, Emmanuel Peppis and company as part of Ken Trahan's original Prep Football Report. 6 hours of high school football from start to finish, 6:05 to midnight on WGSO 990 AM, WGSO.com. And, of course, it's Rummel Night, Friday night at WOW on our show, so we look forward to that as well. Now, as far as college football is concerned, two big games, and they're being played at the same time. In the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, it's Tulane against East Carolina. Tulane, co-leader of the Conference USA Western Division, and, of course, on the other side of things, East Carolina is the leader in the East, so this turns out to be a really big game, Lenny.
It really does. Who would have thought we've been talking about a Tulane game with conference championship ramifications, but that's actually what we have in place. If Tulane can get a win, they would be 3-0 and in control of the situation, at least for the moment in the West Division. And you get this one, boy, the end of the year, Tulane and Rice are the co-leaders right now. They meet the last week of the season in Houston. Who would have thought when they drew up the schedule with Tulane and Rice might determine the Conference USA West Division champion? But the way things stand at the moment, it might just be that way. But the next game is the biggest game in coach speak, and truly that is the case. Tulane's put themselves in this position, after a workmanlike effort to defeat North Texas last week, getting points from offense, defense, and special teams, and it's going to take a three-pronged effort if you're going to beat a very fine East Carolina team who is 4-1 in the year, and they destroyed a North Carolina team just a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, they look like the team to beat in Conference USA, but the last three times they've been to the Superdome, Tulane won and then lost by 4 points and by 3 points, so expect a competitive game here. LSU ranked 10th in the nation at home against Florida. Definitely the best defense LSU will have faced with their prolific offense, so this is a real challenge. Revenge on the minds of the Tigers after losing at Gainesville a year ago. The LSU defense has struggled a bit, but this Florida offense has not been anywhere near what you might expect from Florida's offense, so therefore it looks like strength against strength where these two teams are concerned.
Exactly, and LSU's offense has been outstanding all year long. Florida's offense not so much. LSU's defense is, surprisingly been its weak point this year. But you're facing a Florida offense, like you said, that has certainly not lived up to the type of Florida offenses that we've seen in the past. And you're right. After that game last year, it was the type of game you didn't expect to see LSU lose, where Florida just basically played smash-mouth football with LSU, ran it down their throat with Mike Gillislee, who's not around anymore. He's gone. But it's, still, you've got to think that, that bad taste in their mouth still lingers from a year ago from down in the swamp.
I agree with you. So this is a huge game, as you might imagine. And Jarvis Landry, he's going to play. We'll see how effective he is after getting dinged last week, and he's such a big part of what LSU does. Of course, the Saints are on the road at Gillette Stadium to take on the Patriots in a feature late game on Sunday afternoon. Patriots suffered their first loss a week ago, but it looks like they'll get Rob Gronkowski back for this one. Big emotional lift. Should be a big physical lift as well.
Yeah, you would think. Tom Brady has got virtually no one to throw to. I mean, his receiving core through all sorts of circumstances has been obliterated up until now, and getting Gronkowski back. But if he's the only guy that, is really a big weapon, will you see the Saints do some of the things to Gronkowski that maybe they did to Brandon Marshall a week ago? Of course, Alshon Jeffrey stepped up and picked up some of the slack there. Who will it be for New England to pick up the slack if indeed the Saints try to take away Gronkowski?
The injury report this week, Zach Strief is a concern. That's a starting tackle, so we'll have to see where that shapes out. Roman Harper and Lance Moore still out, it would appear, but the Saints have fared well without them.
They really have, and that's a tribute to depth as much as anything else. And, on offense, I think it truly is a next man up system. You hear that terminology all the time, but a lot of times it's a drop off. As long as you got number 9 behind center, it doesn't matter that much who's out there, although obviously having Sproles and Graham and Colston makes a big difference and can offset a lot of the other players, the pieces, whoever they might be out there. Harper's loss has certainly been minimized by the play of Kenny Vaccaro at safety.
And, of course, New England very, very tough at home. They've won 31 of their last 34 at Gillette Stadium. But, Lenny, I like the way the Saints are playing. I think they've got a real shot to win this game.
I really do as well. And you have to be impressed, and it starts with the defense. I mean, when 18 points last week against Chicago was the most points you've allowed through the first 5 games, if you can hold New England to under 20, I think you give Drew Brees and company a pretty good chance of topping that mark and then coming back home into a bye at 6-0. Who would have thought that?
Patriots defense has played well. They held Cincinnati to 13 last week, but no Vince Wilfork, which really hurts them.
Yeah, really. That makes a big difference in the front. He really ate up blockers and ate up space. And, since he went out, obviously that does make a difference.
So, big game, big weekend for football. I know you'll be tuned in. We had all local winners last week. Could it happen again? If it does, we'll be talking about LSU having a real shot to get to the SEC championship game. We'll be talking about Tulane having a real shot to get to the CUSA championship game. And we'll be talking about the Saints having a real shot to make it back to the Super Bowl.
Holy cow, what a trio that would be if that happened.
Yeah, keep dreaming, man. It's been a good week, Lenny. We look forward to the weekend.
Yeah, I will, and we'll see you on Monday.
All right, that's our first NBC Bank weekend preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank, with 31 locations throughout the greater New Orleans area and beyond. That's First NBC Bank, proud sponsor of SportsNola.com. For Lenny, I'm Kenny. Have a great weekend, and God bless you.